The United States has announced a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics over China's human rights record. The measure should not impact U.S. athletes competing in the Games next year, but China's government has threatened to take countermeasures.
The snowmaking machines are working full blast as the Chinese test their winter venues, weeks before the calendar says it's winter, but less than 2 months before the start of the 2022 Winter Games. Athletes around the world have been sharpening their skills, even as human rights advocates call for a total boycott of the Games, pointing to the internment camps in Xinjiang province, where they say China has allegedly detained up to 1 million Muslim Uyghurs against their will. The White House finally decided on a softer approach. U.S. athletes should compete, U.S. diplomats should stay home.
The Biden administration will not send any diplomatic or official representation to the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympic Games, given the PRC's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity in Xinjiang and other human rights abuses.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry knew this might be coming, and earlier in the day tried to preempt the diplomatic boycott. Without being invited, American politicians keep hyping the so-called diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics, which are purely wishful thinking and grandstanding. Political manipulation is a blatant insult of the spirit of the Olympic Charter and an outright political provocation. The dispatching of high-level delegations to each Olympics and Paralympics is a tradition for the U.S. and other leading nations. First Lady Jill Biden attended the Tokyo Games this summer. U.S. delegation seats will be empty this February, though China is certain to say they were never invited anyway.
Our Washington correspondent Carolina Chamoy has been looking into whether other countries are planning a similar boycott.
That is precisely what the United States would like to see. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he said that the U.S. has been consulting with allies and partners on a shared approach to the Beijing Games because of their concern about China's human rights record. And the chief of the European Union's diplomatic service here in Washington, D.C., he said last week after some meetings with U.S. officials that it was important to keep up pressure on China, indeed, over the abuses in Xinjiang, but that any boycott was in the domain and in the hands of each country and not, it was not a common position of the European Union on foreign policy. And Chinese state media have said that Beijing does not intend to invite Western politicians who have threatened a boycott. Actually, Russian President Vladimir Putin, he is the only leader of a major country who has accepted China's invitation to attend these games.